She is the unrivaled beauty of Splendo Empire. She is also the infamous Villainess, the treasured only daughter of the Marquis Kloppot family, Bianca Kloppot. To keep her fiancé from leaving, she lowered herself and used every means possible. Just when she thought her fiancé had finally understood her feelings, he personally dealt the fatal blow. But all of this was merely part of the plot of an absurd and eerie novel. The male lead in the book had exactly the same name as her fiancé, and the future of her, the villainous supporting character, was firmly nailed by that book into destruction and tragedy. When Bianca read this part, she suddenly hurled the book to the floor. This is impossible. How could there be a book like this? Her fiancé, Ricardo Winkaiser, was the heir to a prestigious ducal family. He was not only handsome, but also an exceptionally powerful swordsman. He was practically flawless, and even his deep voice was especially captivating. Someone as perfect as him would of course become the male lead in a book, but if I were compared to him, I would not be inferior in the slightest. Although my family is not as illustrious as his, we are still a genuine noble house. I am also a beauty publicly recognized by the Empire, yet the heroine is not me, but a woman named Maria. She came from the countryside and was later proven to be the illegitimate daughter of the Marquis Winsbury family, which was how she came to the capital. Though she was beautiful, she knew no etiquette, had no upbringing, and was terribly ignorant. And yet it was precisely such a person, someone I had never seen or even heard of, that I simply could not accept. Though Ricardo was not exactly tender and affectionate toward me, he had never shown contempt or disgust either. He was always like a calm lake. But in the book, he was described as passionate and cheerful. That version of him, so vivid and alive, had never once been shown in front of me. What made my chest feel even heavier was the scenes of him and Maria passionately possessing each other. Hey, Ricardo, if you were to kill someone, under what circumstances do you think it would be? Probably on the battlefield. What if it were not that? Ricardo asked in return, but why are you suddenly curious about that? Because you killed me. In the book, Bianca, unable to obtain love, went mad with jealousy, and even tried to kill Maria to win him back. Bianca answered somewhat guiltily and no. If I were to kill someone in private, it would probably be because that person touched something of mine. Bianca thought of him as he appeared in the book, and her face turned deathly pale in an instant. You've been a little strange today. Why does your face keep turning red and white? Hearing this, an inexplicable trace of joy rose in Bianca's heart. She even vaguely began to hope that things would happen just as they were written in the book. But in the very next second, he merely tossed out a single "get some rest early," then left directly with the same indifference as always. Bianca abruptly came to her senses. In reality, the two of them were nothing more than bound by a family arrangement. After that, she was tormented by this book for several days. She did not even remember the Winsbury charity banquet that night until a maid came in to help her dress. I might as well ignore that book. It is full of garbage anyway. Winsbury is famous for being a gentleman. How could he possibly have an illegitimate daughter? And Ricardo is not a fool. So why would he ignore me and fall in love with an illegitimate daughter? It is utterly absurd. His fiancée is me. She is the Empire's publicly acknowledged greatest beauty, rich and of high status. Why should her ending be nailed by that stupid book into destruction and tragedy? The Count was repeating those same war achievements everyone was tired of hearing. Bianca forced herself to smile along and flatter him. In the end, the conversation inevitably circled back to her marriage with Ricardo. And Ricardo still gave the same answer. We'll probably marry someday. After all, we still have to honor the agreement between our families. Bianca had thought that once she made her official debut in high society, he would propose. Later, she thought it would be after he returned from war. Then later still, she thought it would be after she turned 20. But now, 3 months had already passed since her 20th birthday, and he still showed no sign of doing anything. She knew very well that marriages among nobles were less about love and more about a symbol of balance and trust between families. But as for her feelings toward Ricardo, she clenched her skirt and could not help asking, "We will get married, right?" "Probably." His response was as indifferent as ever. Looking at how utterly unconcerned he seemed, Bianca suddenly had a flash in her mind of. The villainess shouted loudly, "You clearly said you would marry me. If it is an agreement between families, then that means we will marry. Isn't it still the same now? The agreement between the two families is still valid, and you are still my fiancé." "No. From now on, you are not, because we are breaking off the engagement." What is going on? She had clearly seen these words in the book. In her panic, she cautiously tested the waters and asked, "Ricardo, the dog you kept when you were little?" A trace of surprise flashed through Ricardo's eyes. "How do you know that? Where did you hear about it?" The way Maria looked at him, with complete trust in the book, reminded him of the dog that had once given him his first trust and love. She followed the plot of the book and spoke with Ricardo. And every single sentence Ricardo said was exactly the same as in the book, not differing by even the slightest bit, even down to the tone. Bianca was so shocked that the moment she got home, she pulled out the book and opened it. The more she read, the angrier she became. It says I'm a villainess? That is absolutely impossible. It is utterly ridiculous. I'm going to tear this stupid book to pieces. I can't tear it. Then I'll burn it to ashes. A full 10 minutes passed. Not only was the book not burned by the flames, it had actually become even cleaner.
No, I don't want to die.
I have a beautiful face, enormous wealth, and high status. Why should I have to die? There must be a way. After that, she read the entire book 3 more times. The Bianca in the book was far too self-centered, mistakenly believing Ricardo loved her and living an extravagantly luxurious life. She also believed she was the most beautiful person in the world, spoke malicious words at every turn, and deeply looked down on people of low status. She even thought her own words were always right. She was truly a villainess in every sense. But I'm such a gentle person. How am I a villainess? And besides, I really am the prettiest, so what can be done about that? If I have money, I spend it. What exactly is wrong with that? How absurd. Isn't it that book that has twisted the facts far too outrageously? At that moment, a maid stepped forward softly and asked, "Miss, which pair of shoes would you like to wear today?" Bianca raised her eyes and paused, her gaze falling on the maid. "You said yesterday that that pair of leather shoes was very pretty, didn't you?" The maid's face instantly turned pale green. She hurriedly apologized again and again. "It was my fault yesterday, miss. Please don't dismiss me. I have both elders and children to support, and my whole family depends on me alone to earn money." Her endless chatter was so noisy that Bianca felt her eardrums were about to split. "I'll wear that pair today." The maid suddenly fell silent, her eyes wide with shock. "What is your name?" "My name is Pania." The maid's voice was still trembling. Bianca turned toward the mirror and adjusted her skirt. "You match these shoes quite well. Go tell the butler to give you a silver coin, then have him come to my room." How was she to overcome this gamble of fate? She is the Empire's notoriously infamous greatest beauty, yet she is determined to do good deeds and tear off the label of villainess with her own hands. To reverse her fated ending, the first step at present is to find out the identity of Maria, a key figure in the book. Bianca summoned the butler and gave her order. Have her secretly investigate the commoner Maria Bologna. The focus is to find out the relationship between her and Marquis Winsbury. Just as the butler was about to withdraw, Bianca suddenly asked, "Do you know what my reputation is like?" "Your reputation is, of course, very good, miss. You are not only beautiful, but also possess manners and learning worthy of your beauty. You are the pearl of Splendo Empire's social world." Bianca naturally already knew all that. "I mean the evaluation of my personality. How do the servants see me?" This question left the butler stunned on the spot. Then he immediately put on the bearing of a professional butler. "Everyone, of course, likes you very much, miss." Bianca said helplessly, "I know. You may leave. There is a maid in the house named Pania. Give her a silver coin. And when she goes home, have her take the remaining bread in the house with her as well." After the butler left, only Bianca's soft sigh remained in the room. She naturally knew the negative opinions others held of her. Was she really going to become the villainess from the book, just like that? As she pondered, the book beside her that recorded her fate suddenly lit up. Bianca recoiled in shock, and after waiting a moment, she gave a light cough to cover her embarrassment. Holding the book, she muttered softly, "It probably won't explode, right?" But when she opened the book, her pupils suddenly contracted. The contents of the book had actually changed. Originally, after recording her death, it ended with Ricardo and Maria sharing a deep, passionate kiss. But now the book actually said that on the barren grave of that villainess, there appeared a maid who had once received her favor because of her momentary whim, and who picked wildflowers and placed them before her grave. That maid should be Pania, because before this, I had never shown any favor to the maids. They were employed by me. They gave their labor and received wages. I had always thought that the relationship between us went no further than that. Bianca looked at the changes in the book, and her heart began to pound uncontrollably. In that case, she would do an extraordinary good deed that a villainess would never do. She immediately ordered a maid to go to a nearby orphanage. Anyone would do. After arriving at the orphanage, she was somewhat surprised that it was even cleaner than she had imagined. At that moment, 2 children suddenly ran out from beside the bushes. The younger one stared at Bianca with round eyes, nervous yet curious. The older child was startled by the maid who stepped forward, and after learning that they were there to see the headmistress, immediately ran off at full speed, his footsteps pattering away. The little one left behind came close to Bianca. His eyes were full of anticipation. "Are you a princess?" The maid was so alarmed by the child's innocent remark that she hurriedly explained, "This is Lady Bianca Kloppot, daughter of the Marquis Kloppot family." The little one pressed his lips together. "You're so pretty. Are you really not a princess?" Bianca thought that her status was not much different from that of a princess from the neighboring kingdom, so she casually replied, "I'm about the same as a princess." As soon as the words left her mouth, even she herself was stunned. How had she said something like that? But the little one did not care about any of this, and happily took her hand and led her forward. Bianca looked at this child before her with grimy little hands, and unexpectedly felt rather good. It was a feeling she had never experienced before. Afterward, Bianca found the head of the orphanage and explained why she had come. She wanted to sponsor this orphanage, but her only condition was that the head should spread the word that she was the one sponsoring it. She urgently needed to reshape her image and let everyone know that she was not a vicious person, but a kind one. Publicly funding an orphanage was precisely the best way to achieve that goal. Very soon, Bianca reached an agreement with the head. The head was still in tears and kept thanking her endlessly. Bianca comforted her somewhat stiffly. It is only the cost of 3 dresses. It does not warrant such profuse thanks. Just as she was about to leave, a familiar figure suddenly appeared before her eyes. Ricardo Winkaiser. Why would he appear here? The woman merely wanted to do a good deed. Yet she was mistaken by her fiancé for a stalker. After the misunderstanding was cleared up, who would have thought that his unintentional actions would once again stir her heartstrings? Not long ago, in order to seize this turning point in fate, Bianca decided to sponsor the orphanage. Yet she just happened to run into her fiancé Ricardo there. The man questioned coldly, "Why are you here?" Bianca's heart tightened. Was simply running into her here enough to make him this angry? In his eyes, what kind of person was she exactly? At that moment, a tiny figure stepped in front of Bianca. "Brother Ricardo, you are not allowed to get angry at the princess. Even if you are my brother, I'll still scold you." Bianca froze. Then she could not help but smile. Though she had been protected by countless knights, this kind of solid, reassuring protection was still a first for her. Afterward, once Ricardo understood the reason, he sincerely apologized to Bianca. "I didn't expect that you would sponsor an orphanage. I thought the Clawpot family was not interested in charity. This is only my personal action. As for you, I just heard Lala call you brother. I suppose you come here often?" "Yes. But the children do not know my noble status. They only think of me as a knight who knows how to use a sword. I teach the boys swordsmanship here, and there are quite a few knights in the knight order who come from commoner backgrounds as well. Though their status is not high, they can still live stable lives by relying on their salaries." Bianca expressed her agreement, and Ricardo was a knight of great renown throughout the empire. With his instruction, the children's skills would naturally not be poor. More importantly, as long as they had his letter of recommendation, any knight order would open its doors to them. "Do girls learn swordsmanship too?" "I teach girls who want to learn as well, but it is too difficult for girls to become knights, and the children know that themselves, so they are not very interested." "Then what can they do in the future?" The head said that once they came of age, most of them would marry or go to the city to work, but without any special skills, they could only do menial labor. Bianca could not help picturing Lala's young little face in her mind. When she thought of such a small child having to make a living through menial labor in the future, the tip of her nose inexplicably turned sour. It felt as if her heart had been lightly pricked. She had only met that child for the first time today, so why did she care so much? But this also made her feel it was unfair. Boys could become knights through swordsmanship, while girls could only become laborers. Do you think becoming a knight is easy? War is terrifying, with corpses strewn everywhere. Homes are reduced to ruins, and cries of grief are everywhere. Those horrific scenes still return in my dreams even now. The reason I teach them here and support them is, in fact, also for atonement. It is very ironic, isn't it? I speak of how terrible war is, and yet at the same time, I let children become knights. But this is the only skill I have. Bianca looked toward his hollow gaze. It was as if he might disappear silently at any moment. She had never seen him this fragile before. Had he always been bearing such pain alone? Though she could not know what the world looked like through his eyes. I only hope that he will not vanish with the wind. Before she realized it, she had already taken hold of his hand. Bianca felt a little embarrassed and did not know how to speak. Just as she was about to quietly pull her hand back, Ricardo's warm palm covered hers instead. "Thank you." His voice carried a softness she had never heard before. Bianca's cheeks instantly flushed crimson. This sudden, honest conversation allowed both of them to glimpse sides of each other they had never shown before. She looked at these hands that had already held each other many times by now. Why did they feel so warm today? As they left the orphanage, Ricardo looked at her flushed cheeks. He leaned slightly closer. "Your face seems a little red. Do you have a fever?" His sudden closeness made Bianca's face instantly turn bright red. Her heart pounded wildly. "I'm fine. Maybe I stayed outside too long. Let's go." After saying that, she turned and hurried away. Bianca could clearly feel that his gaze was no longer the indifferent one from before, but one filled with clear focus, falling straight upon her. But to her, was such a gaze, such a fluttering of the heart, an omen of good fortune or bad? On the way to the bookstore, Bianca kept thinking over everything in her mind. Maria really did exist. Although it had not yet been confirmed whether she was Marquis Winsbury's illegitimate daughter, it was a fact that she lived together with her sick widowed mother. In addition, when the Marquis had recuperated in Inchina from war injuries years ago, the maid who took care of him was precisely Maria's mother. Everything they had found so far matched the book, and the remaining contents were very likely true as well. Then I really will? I'm really going crazy. After Bianca walked into the bookstore, she recited a string of book titles related to war and psychology. The shop owner immediately turned around in a flurry to pack them. As she waited by the side, her gaze was drawn to the storybooks about princesses on the shelf. Lala's image appeared in her mind. That child seemed to like princesses very much. And last time, She had even saved her from Ricardo. It would not be bad to give her a small reward. So she raised her hand and said, "Shopkeeper, pack all the fairy tale books on that shelf as well." As soon as she arrived at the orphanage, Bianca did not expect to run into her fiancé Ricardo again, and the air instantly became a little awkward. Her tone carried a trace of unnaturalness. "We seem to be seeing each other often lately. Do you come here often?"
Yes.
"If there's nothing special going on, I come 2 or 3 times a week. After all, swordsmanship only improves through constant practice. What about you?" "I bought some books." Ricardo subconsciously glanced into the carriage. "You called us some? We'll need to call the children to help carry them." Bianca lifted her head. Just in time, she saw beads of sweat sliding down along his jawline. That sight instantly threw her heartbeat out of rhythm. She quickly turned her face away shyly. At that moment, Lala came running over on her short little legs, as fast as a gust of wind. In the next second, Lala threw herself straight into Bianca's arms. Looking up at her with smiling crescent eyes, she said, "Princess, when did you come? Why didn't you tell me in advance?" "The moment Sister Nicole told me, I ran over right away." Faced with Lala's closeness, Bianca felt a little at a loss. Should she have told her in advance? Lala's eyes sparkled. "Princess is super pretty today too." Bianca answered instinctively, "I know." The moment the words fell, a low chuckle suddenly sounded beside her. Realizing that he had been noticed, Ricardo quickly turned his face away. Bianca stared at his back, her cheeks slightly warm and carrying a bit of irritation. "What's so funny?" Lala called softly, "Princess, princess. If brother Ricardo bullies you again, just tell me, and I'll scold him for you." Bianca looked at the tiny person before her with that serious little face. "If you scold him, will he be scared? You're so cute. I'm super fierce." Then Lala gave a soft little huff, which made Bianca feel that she was not fierce at all, but unbearably adorable instead. In the next second, she raised her voice. "Should that be called cute? Or should it be called scary?" Suddenly, Lala was scooped up by Ricardo, who tickled her until she laughed uncontrollably. "Don't bully the princess, little tiger." Lala opened her round eyes wide. "I'm not bullying the princess. I'm protecting the princess." Bianca stared blankly at the two of them playing around. Ricardo reached out his hand to her. His tone carried a trace of gentleness. With such a reliable Lala protecting her, the princess must be very happy. Bianca's cheeks flushed slightly. With a fluttering heart, she placed her hand over his palm. "I've seen this in a fairy tale book." Lala suddenly said excitedly. "This is the scene where the knight saves the princess. Brother Ricardo isn't a villain, he's a knight." "Then will you two get married in the future?" "Maybe we will. If I marry the princess, will you come to the wedding too?" Why would he say something like that? All this time, his attitude toward marriage had always lingered somewhere between not necessarily and maybe. Recently, she had also come to realize it wasn't that he was indifferent to everything, he was simply indifferent to their marriage. Even though he had already shown that kind of attitude, he was still bringing up marriage with this kind of expression. "Why would you say something like that? Aren't you uninterested in marriage?" Ricardo replied quite calmly. "Shouldn't I say that? Anyway, we're going to get married sooner or later. I really am not interested in marriage itself, but I've never said that I wouldn't marry you." Bianca froze completely. How can someone like this even exist in the world? At that moment, Lala came over holding a picture book, wanting Bianca to read her a story. But since she and Ricardo hadn't finished talking about their marriage, she tactfully told Lala to look at it by herself first. But the little girl pouted and said she couldn't read. Bianca was stunned at once. "Can't read?"
Why?
Lala blinked her big eyes. "I just can't read." Ricardo, standing nearby, quickly softened his tone to coax her. "Let Sister Nicole read it to you first." After Lala ran off, Ricardo finally explained. Most commoners' children have no one to teach them, so they learn to read very late. The children in orphanages learn even later, and some are completely illiterate. No wonder sometimes they can't even understand what's being said. So it's because they can't read. Don't they have wet nurses or tutors? None. Most commoners' children are raised by their mothers, or they just grow up little by little on their own. Bianca thought, they're not wild grass. So how can they be left to grope their way into adulthood by themselves? I absolutely can't let cute and kind Lala become like that. Seeing her expression, Ricardo couldn't help asking, "I thought you hated children." "I wouldn't say I hate them. It's just that children don't take the initiative to approach me, and I don't take the initiative to approach them either." Ricardo suddenly leaned closer. "Really? I always thought you hated children." Bianca was so startled by his sudden closeness that her cheeks grew hot. "Why you stay a little farther away from me? I'm going to see the director and increase the funding so the orphanage can afford a teacher." With that, she hurriedly fled. Watching her flustered figure leave, Ricardo murmured softly, "So that's how it is." The two of them stayed until dusk and prepared to leave. But Bianca's carriage was loaded with too many books, and even the horse refused to move. Seeing this, Ricardo offered to take her back. Before Bianca could say anything, her family's coachman had already agreed first. Bianca shot the coachman a resentful glare. Why didn't he ask her opinion first? But complaints were complaints, and in the end, she still got into the carriage, and the two of them remained silent all the way. Ricardo looked at the carriage full of books, his gaze stopping on one whose cover bore the word war. These books, could they be? Before he could finish, Bianca interrupted him. These books are only to satisfy my academic curiosity and have absolutely nothing to do with you," Ricardo said with a serious face. "I wasn't asking whether these books had anything to do with me either." The moment he said that, Bianca instantly stiffened, the corners of her mouth twitching slightly, while in her heart she had already cursed him countless times. A moment later, after returning to the estate, Ricardo's mind was still full of Bianca. In his past impression, Bianca had been a beautiful yet cold, noble lady, arrogant and obsessed with power. Their engagement was nothing more than an agreement between families. Even if they married in the future, it would only be to continue the family line. Just like at that previous banquet, there was a child playing with cake, and everyone around thought it was very cute. But Bianca was the only one who looked on coldly, and even said so dirty. Although the cake really had been squished into a mess, weren't little children always like that? This made his impression of her deepen even more. Deep down, he had actually always had a dream to form a family with a beloved wife and adorable children. And he had even thought that if he could give up the position of Winckaiser heir, he would take his family and settle in a quiet, remote town. But in the end, he could not let go of the responsibility of being the heir and only hoped that he could at least have a happy and harmonious family. This was his only wish during the Chiliot War. He had once been certain that if he were with Bianca, this wish would never come true. He thought that even if they got married, the only thing she would care about would be the title of Duchess, not the identity of being his wife. But today, he saw a different Bianca. She didn't hate children. She was just not good at taking the initiative to get close to them. Though she appeared cold, deep inside, she had gentleness and kindness. All along, it had been he who had seen her far too one-sidedly. At this moment, the wife in that once vague, happy family in his heart began miraculously to become clearer little by little. That's right, she looked exactly like Bianca. The corners of Ricardo's lips unconsciously lifted, and he made up his mind. It was time to start preparing for marriage. Bianca looked at the report about Maria and murmured in a low voice, "I can neither kill her nor save her." She was a beautiful and kind girl, and even though she was shrouded in poverty and criticism because of her uncertain paternity, she had always lived brightly and vividly. She worked hard, and the only jobs she could probably choose from were odd jobs or domestic service. Her mother, who had become pregnant out of wedlock, worked desperately to support the family, only to fall ill in the end, making their already difficult life even worse. Even so, she still smiled and carried everything on her shoulders, working while taking care of her sick mother. Bianca couldn't understand why a girl this good had to be killed. Even helping her a little wasn't enough. It also made her think of Pania, who needed to care for her family, and of Lala, who was always smiling brightly. But someone so kind and cheerful would actually turn her into a villainess and take Ricardo away, and would even threaten her life. Bianca only felt her neck tighten. What on earth was she supposed to do with her? Not long after, at the ball at the Winsbury estate, Bianca had only just stepped into the hall when she heard a familiar voice. "You are as beautiful as ever today." The one who had come was Lady Evelyn. The polite greetings had only just ended. When she got straight to the point, "I heard you've been very enthusiastic about charity work lately. I had thought the Clopot family had always only cared about practical benefits and had no interest in such things." "This is only my personal action," Bianca said in an indifferent tone, but inwardly she was thinking, "It seems the director has already spread the news. Let it spread even wider, so more people know how kind I am." Ricardo slowly walked to Bianca's side, and after Lady Evelyn exchanged a simple greeting with him, she turned and left. Bianca watched her departing figure and thought that news of the sponsorship would probably spread very soon. Ricardo beside her suddenly spoke. "There have been quite a few rumors about you lately. Not only did you sponsor the orphanage, you also went to help homeless shelters and nursing homes. You say this was your personal action, but why did you suddenly become interested in charity?" Bianca met his sharp gaze, thinking that he really wanted to know why she had changed. Fine, this was a good chance to let him know that she was a kind person. Then she raised a confident smile, "Because I'm very rich, and I was kind to begin with." At this moment, Bianca seemed to be glowing all over, vivid and dazzling. A faint blush quietly rose on Ricardo's cheeks, and his tone softened a little as well. "All right, it seems I didn't understand you well enough before. Would you like to dance?" Bianca was slightly stunned when she heard that, but instinctively agreed. Yet inwardly she was thinking, doesn't he dislike dancing? And besides, she had already danced with him once today. The moment the two of them walked hand in hand into the dance floor, they became the center of everyone's attention. The music began, the melody flowed, and they danced in tacit harmony with the rhythm. Every turn, every brush of fingertips carried a perfect sense of harmony. But Bianca's thoughts quietly drifted elsewhere, as her mind kept calculating how she should ask Winsbury about Maria later. She couldn't possibly go straight to the point the moment she opened her mouth. Suddenly, Ricardo leaned down slightly. "Bianca, what are you thinking about?" Bianca answered vaguely. "A lot of things. When dancing, shouldn't your attention be on your dance partner? That is, on me." Bianca's heart trembled. Why was he acting like this again? When had they ever danced like truly loving lovers, gazing into each other's eyes. In the past, when they danced, his gaze always passed over her shoulder toward the distance. Even she, who had looked at him seriously at first, had gradually become used to resting her eyes on his collar. But now, his gaze was fixed firmly on her, so focused that this was not the Ricardo she knew at all. But when he looked at her with those eyes full of tenderness and softly spoke her name, her heartbeat still began racing uncontrollably. Then his even gentler words reached her ears, like feathers lightly brushing across the tip of her heart. "Bianca, you look beautiful today." The pink-haired childhood friend makes her appearance. The aloof fiancé instantly caught the scent of danger. He immediately moved to assert his claim. Not long ago, Ricardo's sudden gentleness had made Bianca's feelings almost impossible to hide, so she could only flee awkwardly and hide in the powder room. She raised her eyes to look at her flushed face in the mirror, full of confusion. Why had he suddenly become like this? Could it be because she looked especially beautiful today, so he had suddenly developed feelings for her? No. In the 10 years I've been engaged to him, when was there ever a day that I wasn't beautiful? There was no way he would suddenly start falling for her. That's right. This must only be her illusion. After her emotions calmed down a little, she headed toward the banquet hall. But then a familiar call came from behind, and Bianca instantly felt something was wrong. She only wanted to pretend she hadn't heard it and disappear into the crowd. But the next second, someone pressed a hand onto her shoulder. "Don't pretend not to know me, or I'll be hurt." Bianca's face was full of speechless exasperation. This elusive fellow was none other than Crown Prince Aceblant Catacento, who had the Splendo royal family's signature pink hair and blue-green eyes. Bianca hurriedly bowed. "Your Highness." The Crown Prince waved his hand. "With our relationship, you can just call me casually." "That won't do, Your Highness. But you clearly used to call me Assy." Looking at how overly familiar he was acting, Bianca only wanted to run away immediately. Then she put on a standard social smile. "Your Highness, do you need something from me? If not, I'll take my leave first." Assy quickly stopped her. "Isn't that too direct a rejection? Do you have to have a reason before you can talk to me?" As he spoke, he extended his hand to her. "Would you like to dance with me?" This proposal was indeed simple and reasonable, and besides, who would dare refuse the Crown Prince's invitation? Just as her fingertips were about to touch Assy's hand, a cold voice suddenly rang out. "Bianca." Ricardo approached with a slightly dark expression, his gaze falling on their hands that were about to clasp. Then he dropped to one knee and respectfully saluted Assy. "Long time no see, Ricardo." "Yes, Your Highness." Ricardo's response was short and cold. Assy was momentarily choked by that and laughed lightly. "You're still the same as ever." After saying that, he took Bianca's hand and prepared to walk toward the dance floor. But Ricardo pulled Bianca to his side in one motion. "Your Highness, I'm sorry, but Bianca is my partner today." Bianca looked up at him blankly. The air suddenly fell silent. Assy broke the silence first. "I know. Ever since you got engaged, she's always been your partner. Everyone knows that. So there's nothing wrong with her dancing one dance with me, right?" Bianca looked at him, her eyes full of the confusion of "Didn't you two just dance?" Assy frowned with a smile. "Didn't you two already dance just now?" According to the rules, aside from the first dance, the rest of the time people are free to dance with others, aren't they? Since when did Splendo etiquette change? Besides, I finally managed to come out for once, so be a little understanding. That's a bit difficult because Bianca still has to dance with me. The Crown Prince immediately grew anxious, but before you came, she had already agreed to dance with me. The two of them went back and forth, sounding just like two children fighting over a toy. Bianca was speechless to the extreme, complaining wildly in her heart. "What exactly are you trying to do by sandwiching me in the middle?" Seeing that Ricardo refused to give way no matter what, Assy immediately turned to Bianca, "Right? You agreed to it." But before Bianca could speak, Ricardo immediately cut in. "From my point of view, she did not completely agree." Assy grew so anxious that he started gesturing directly. "Her fingers already touched my palm. You just didn't see it, right?" Bianca looked at these two childish men and, for a moment, had absolutely no idea how to answer. Just then, a steady voice rang out, and Assy's face instantly fell. The person who had arrived was none other than his aide. "Your Highness Crown Prince Assy, it is about time. You should be leaving now." Assy looked full of reluctance. "I've only just been here. I have to leave already?" The aide pinched his pocket watch and began nagging nonstop, while Assy looked utterly dead inside and raised a hand to cover the buzzing noise. Seeing this, Bianca and Ricardo instantly and tacitly sent him off. Assy was stunned by how quick and proper their reaction was. All right. For the safety of the Empire, this frail body of mine should go and devote itself." Watching Assy leave, Bianca had only just let out a sigh of relief when Ricardo's gentle voice sounded by her ear. "Then let's go, my fiancé." Bianca instantly froze. Fiancé? Since when had he ever called her that? Not only had he unbelievably called her fiancé, a word he had never said before, he had also repeatedly taken the initiative to invite her to dance, even though he clearly did not like dancing. This whole string of abnormal behavior made Bianca unable to help wondering whether there really had been something wrong with the tea at the orphanage. But in the face of her confusion, This fiancé of hers, whose whole manner had suddenly changed, looked completely at ease. A form of address? I can just start calling you that from now on, can I? As for dancing, it was because if I didn't invite you, I kept feeling like you would dance with someone else.
Look, him.
And him too. Ever since you entered the hall, their eyes have not left you. Bianca, you really are very popular. Bianca gave a light snort, sounding a bit coy and annoyed. What a fuss over nothing. But Ricardo pressed on with a serious face. Have you always been this popular? The fact that you can even ask a question like that is what's truly surprising, isn't it? Ricardo still looked puzzled as he asked. Why? That single sentence instantly crushed the last bit of Bianca's reason.
Why?
He was actually asking why someone like her, born into privilege and known as the greatest beauty in the Splendo Empire, would be popular? She once again realized deeply that this man truly had no interest in her at all. Bianca suppressed the anger that was shooting straight upward. Of course, because I am an extremely perfect woman to begin with. And from beginning to end, you are the only person who has treated me like an inconspicuous stone by the roadside. Yet Ricardo remained completely oblivious and asked again, Are you angry? Bianca tried hard to maintain her smile. Me? How would a little stone tucked into a pocket dare get angry at its owner? But Ricardo leaned in a little closer, his tone certain. You really are angry. At this moment, Bianca was truly speechless to the extreme. What exactly was with this shameless attitude of his? Why did she have to be treated like this by him? And why had she once taken it for granted that she should marry a man who had no interest in her at all? Really, thanks a lot to that damned book. She, Bianca Kloppot, had no reason to be treated this way. Just as her emotions had calmed slightly and she was about to call out to him, Ricardo spoke first. Bianca, this is the first time I've seen you get angry. Lately, it feels like I keep seeing different sides of you, and getting to know this new you little by little is actually quite interesting. His smile made Bianca freeze instantly. It was her first time seeing him smile so brilliantly. No, that smile. Back when Ricardo had still been round-faced and much brighter than he was now, she had actually seen it before. The next day, Bianca kept her appointment as promised. The person who had invited her was the only son of Winsberry, Raintad Winsberry, once regarded as the next Marquis. People all said that he was almost the exact image of his father in his younger days, so much so that even if someone mistook the old Marquis's portrait for him, no one would notice. But the two had completely different temperaments. The old Marquis was stubborn yet open-hearted, while Raintad was gentle and compliant. Now 25 years old, although he had once been engaged to the daughter of a marquis, for some unknown reason the engagement had been broken off, and he had remained single ever since. There were also rumors that he had secretly been in love with some marquis's daughter all along. But that was not something Bianca ought to pry into. What she really should be thinking about now was why this marquis had invited her here. So she simply got straight to the point. Did you ask to see me today because there is something you need? But she saw that he looked as though he wanted to speak yet hesitated. Bianca's instincts instantly sounded the alarm. She subconsciously said, If it's inconvenient for you to say, we can talk about it another time. Raintad quickly cut her off. No, I have to say it now. Actually, our family has an illegitimate daughter. This sudden bombshell instantly stunned Bianca, and even her mind went blank for a moment, seeing her expression. Raintad hurriedly explained, She is not my child, she is my father's. When father was young, he once had a brief affair with a woman. The Winsberry family sent people to investigate, and during father's convalescence, he really had been involved with her. Working backward from the child's birth date and the timing of his convalescence, everything matched perfectly. And besides, that child looks so much like father that it is impossible to deny. So father brought her back into the family under the name of adoption. And because that child will soon enter society under the family name, I wanted to trouble you today to help her. But at this moment, Bianca could no longer hear Raintad's explanation and was only immersed in her own thoughts. They had already found Maria. She had already come to the capital. The story was steadily moving forward, exactly as it had been written in the book. Without the slightest deviation, it was heading toward the ending where her throat would be slit. She slowly opened her mouth and asked, as if to confirm it, That girl, what is her name? Maria Winsberry. Bianca instantly felt as though an invisible hand had seized her throat in a deadly grip. Her ending was approaching that final point step by step. What should I do? If this continues, if the two of them are destined to meet, if it really comes to that point, am I supposed to kill her? Bianca was so shocked by her own thought that her eyes flew wide open. She shook her head hard, forcing herself to pull herself together. For a villainess to give rise to vicious thoughts was exactly what this book wanted most to see. And besides, if she really killed her, perhaps she would be haunted by nightmares every night. Most importantly, even if she acted before their feelings deepened, killing Maria was also the decisive reason for her own death in the novel. Bianca subconsciously touched her neck and murmured in a low voice. In an instant, Ricardo's hollow expression when speaking of war suddenly flashed through her mind. Did he dream every night of those he had killed? Of those lives that had passed away? Did they also cling to him all night long, resent him, and curse him with bitter words? And in the novel, After she killed her, would her figure also linger in his dreams like a nightmare, impossible to drive away? Bianca stared fixedly at the page, her fingertips unconsciously tapping lightly. There was only 1 week left until St. George's Day. Their fated meeting was already close at hand. Was there really no way to avoid death? Then what if she stopped them from meeting? If she rewrote fate from the very beginning so that they could never fall in love? That's right. No matter what, there must be a sliver of hope. Early the next morning, Bianca headed straight for Ricardo's house. The moment she saw him, she clutched the corner of her clothes and spoke urgently. On St. George's Day, I want you to stay with me the entire day. She thought to herself that that day was exactly when he and Maria first met, so if she kept him by her side, wouldn't that stop them from meeting? But Ricardo's cheeks flushed red at her blunt words. The entire day, stay with you? That trace of shyness made Bianca suddenly freeze. He actually could make an expression like that too. It would be my honor, but I already have plans that day. Bianca's heart instantly leaped into her throat. Plans? With whom? The way Ricardo looked at her grew even gentler. Want to know? Bianca answered instinctively. That day, I promised the children at the orphanage that we would go see the St. George festival together. Hearing that, Bianca realized that she had reacted too strongly just now and hurriedly covered it up with an awkward laugh. I see. So, if you don't mind, could you come with me too? And just like that, Bianca appeared fresh and lovely on the bustling street. But the chaotic scene before her made her freeze on the spot. Ricardo had rarely taken the initiative to invite her out, and this was where he had brought her. She tightly grabbed the sleeve of the person beside her. This place. Did a war break out here? This is obviously just a festival, but shouldn't a festival be a place with melodious music and crowds full of joy and excitement? She had never heard of any festival being this chaotic. Princess, what are you still standing there for? Let's hurry and go look around. Lala happily grabbed her hand. Before Bianca could even react, she was pulled into the crowd. Bianca was surprised to discover that although there were many people, no one was shoving. Even the originally harsh noise gradually became the cries of vendors calling for customers. Even crying children would stop sobbing and smile at once because of a single piece of candy. Everyone was enjoying themselves. So, this is what a festival is. Suddenly, Lala popped up in front of her. Pointing excitedly at a toy, she said, Princess, look, it's a doll. You want a doll? Then I'll buy it for you. The moment she finished speaking, the words rat-catching competition made all the hairs on her body stand on end. She simply could not understand why anyone would turn such a thing into a game. But when that boy grabbed one in a single motion, she could not help laughing. Wait, was she actually cheering because someone caught a rat? And yet she actually was just a little happy. Ricardo, that's wonderful. I was actually a little worried that you wouldn't adapt to this kind of fare. Now that I see you so happy, I feel this idea was not a mistake. Thank you for being willing to come with me today. Bianca's eyes widened abruptly. What is this? Saying something like that all of a sudden. And ever since last time, he had kept showing expressions she had never seen before. This was really too hard to handle. A sudden cry of alarm rose behind them. There's a thief. Quick, help me catch that thief. Nicole was violently shoved aside by someone running past, and Ricardo caught her in time. He glanced in the direction the man was fleeing, then turned and told Bianca to take care of the children. He immediately chased after him. Bianca's heart jolted at once. The owner of that voice was clearly. She hurriedly asked Peter to look after the children while she quickly ran after Ricardo. She had to stop all of this. She absolutely could not let the two of them meet. At the exact moment Ricardo subdued the thief, a figure suddenly rushed out and shouted, You bastard, do you know what that money was for? That was my mother's hospital fee. This red-haired, green-eyed girl was none other than Maria Winsberry, the heroine of the book. The girl was breathing hard, and when she raised her eyes, they collided with Ricardo's handsome features. Her cheeks instantly turned red. Ricardo looked at the girl and asked, Is this money pouch yours? Yes. Thank you so very much. Their conversation made Bianca, standing not far away, freeze in place, because she had read it far too many times, to the point that she could recite even their lines by heart. They really were exactly the same as written in the book, without the slightest difference. Even though she had already tried so desperately to change the ending, was it still impossible to change it in the end? Was the ending still going to become that? After meeting, they would gradually fall for each other, and then fall in love. In the end, will you also drive a knife into my neck? After all, she still had not managed to change anything. What was meant to happen would still happen in the end, no matter how desperately she tried to stop it. She still could not overcome the fate that had long been ordained. No matter how many times she had turned the pages of that book, no matter how she struggled, the result was still the same. A suffocating feeling surged up, and all she wanted was to flee this place immediately. Behind her came Ricardo's urgent shout, but the only answer he received was her retreating figure growing farther and farther away. Why was she crying? Today, I saw many brand new sides of her. The way she looked flustered, yet excited in the crowded crowd, and also the gentle, gratified look on her face as she watched Lala holding the doll. Though these sides of her were unfamiliar, he did not find them bothersome in the least. But there was one thing only He did not want to see her cry. Just as he was lost in thought, Maria stepped forward and softly asked his name, wanting to repay him for his help. Ricardo instinctively refused, yet he still could not resist the girl's persistence. "If you really want to repay me, then go help other people." That single short sentence made Maria deeply drawn to his gentleness, and her cheeks flushed crimson at once. And at this moment, Bianca, with swollen red eyes, sat blankly in the carriage back to the estate. Her pale complexion made the maid beside her look full of worry. "Miss, you look very unwell. Should tomorrow's schedule be cancelled?" she asked blankly in return. "What schedule?" "The daughter of Marquis Winsbury is coming to visit you tomorrow." A wave of bitterness instantly rose in Bianca's heart. The next day, Maria arrived for the visit in full dress, introducing herself openly and gracefully. Bianca found herself unconsciously sizing her up. Although she had dressed carefully, her hair still looked somewhat messy. Her features were beautiful, yet there was still a faint rustic air about her. But those lively eyes and that childlike, innocent smile were something Bianca herself did not possess. Maria happily brought up Winsbury and praised Bianca as an extremely perfect lady. That made Bianca think of the obsession she had always held, which was to become a perfect lady, to become an elegant duchess. But the girl before her might completely shatter that dream. Could such an insignificant girl really destroy her future? Was she only supposed to watch all of this happen helplessly? What exactly had she done wrong? Why did she have to end up dying of all things? A violent fit of coughing suddenly rang out. Tea stains on the table mixed with blood and trickled across it. Maria also covered the corner of her bleeding lips, her eyes full of terror as she stared at the person across from her in disbelief. And Bianca merely looked at her coldly. A childish call suddenly snapped her out of her thoughts. "Miss Bianca, are you alright? I kept calling you just now, but you didn't respond at all." "Sorry, I was distracted just now." "Where were we?" "You asked why I came to the capital." "Actually, it's because my mother's health isn't very good. With my financial situation, it's very hard for me to get her treatment. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left the countryside. But I'm truly grateful that you're willing to help me. I also want to become someone like you, someone who can help others. My motives for helping others are not pure. I just want to hear people say that I'm a good person." But Maria disagreed. "When all is said and done, aren't you still a good person? Living kindly is clearly harder than living despicably, yet you still chose to do good. In the end, you're a good person. You shouldn't care about what people who don't understand you at all say. Even if other people might say that, you absolutely must not think that way yourself." Bianca looked at her, so bright and cheerful. How could she possibly hurt such a kind child? She had always studied hard and always given it everything she had, and had never once been ignored. But if asked what exactly she had done all of this for, her brows knit slightly, and a trace of resolve flashed through her eyes. The same clear weather, the same straightforward tone, but that sudden impact was completely different from the last time. "Ricardo, I want to break off our engagement." When Bianca proposed ending the engagement, Ricardo's eyes were full of disbelief. "Wasn't your dearest wish to be engaged to me?" Faced with this question, Bianca remained calm. "Our engagement was like a decision children made on a whim to begin with. At that time, I was far too rash. I only knew how to cling stubbornly to what was in front of my eyes." When she was little, Bianca accidentally stained the little pink-haired girl's dress and was told to apologize. But remembering her mother's teachings, she insisted that it had only been an accident and not her fault. Just when she was at a complete loss, the young Ricardo stepped forward on his own to help her out. He even apologized first on the grounds that he had failed to look after things properly. Young Bianca was full of confusion. Her mother had clearly said that apologizing was the behavior of losers. An excellent lady should avoid putting herself in a situation where she needs to apologize in the first place. Her serious expression made Ricardo laugh on the spot. "You're still so young, and you're already working this hard to learn proper etiquette. You'll definitely become an excellent lady in the future." It was that incomparably gentle smile that made young Bianca fall completely. From that moment on, her dream was to become the Duchess of Winkheiser, and she had desperately worked toward that goal all the way until now. But now, the thing ranked first in her life was no longer the position of Duchess, nor was it the position of standing by Ricardo's side. It was herself, so she, Bianca Kloppot, was going to break off this engagement. Ricardo fixed his gaze tightly on her. "Your decision doesn't sound sincere in the slightest." "Sincere?" Bianca let out a light laugh. "This is my true feeling. I always longed to become a duchess. For the young daughter of a count's family who was determined to become a perfect lady, it was such a tempting position. But recently I finally realized that there are things in this world even more precious than that, so even now, I have to correct the mistakes of the past." Ricardo's expression darkened at once. "You're suddenly proposing to break off the engagement. Could it be because there's another man? Are you doubting me right now?" Still, this surprised Bianca a little. She had thought he would only toss out a casual, "Suit yourself." She hadn't expected him to bring up some other man when he was clearly the one who fell for someone else first. And what mattered most right now was that she didn't want to die. Ricardo was silent for a long while before speaking. "If there really were another woman by my side, then your proposal to break off the engagement would be understandable. But that will absolutely never happen, because I'm very interested in you right now. So I will absolutely not break off the engagement. Bianca's heart trembled, and a thought suddenly sprang up. Could the contents of the book change because of this? Could it turn into a story where there would still be further developments between her and Ricardo? At the same time, a book on the shelf suddenly began to glow with a golden light. In order to verify the result as soon as possible, Bianca immediately returned home, took out the book, and opened it with unease in her heart. The words in the book appeared clearly. After they met, Maria, who had just arrived in the capital, fell in love with Ricardo at first sight. From then on, those feelings only grew deeper, and she, who had once been regarded as a villainess, had unknowingly become Ricardo's first love. However, the direction of the story in the book suddenly changed sharply. What appeared before her was Bianca suddenly coughing violently without being able to stop, bright red blood continuously spilling from the corner of her mouth. Maria looked down at her from above, and only cold indifference remained on her face. With the last of her strength, Bianca spoke. Do you think this will make Ricardo change his heart? But Maria suddenly smiled, and there was an almost insane obsession in that smile. It's all right, even if I can't have his soul, I at least have to have his body. Bianca's mind instantly shut down. My God, why am I always the one who dies? Was this the will of God, or an inescapable curse? Whatever the answer was, this world seemed determined to kill her. But she couldn't lose heart just like that. What mattered most right now was first doing whatever was within her power. Maria was filled with delight at Bianca's sudden visit. Bianca handed over an envelope. I heard about your mother last time. Maybe I'm meddling, but I truly can't just stand by and do nothing. So I specially prepared this for you. Open it and take a look. I hope you won't feel burdened by it. Please accept it. After seeing what was inside the envelope, Maria widened her eyes in shock. This is a referral letter for admission to St. Lemenica Hospital, but I clearly heard that doctor is no longer accepting patients. That's exactly why I wrote you a letter of recommendation. St. Lemenica Hospital is a convent-affiliated hospital funded by the Kloppot family, and Dr. Ken Searle is the foremost expert in treating lung disease. With this letter, he will become your mother's attending physician. Maria's eyes instantly filled with tears. Thank you. You are practically my benefactor. That way, as long as she's not some utterly heartless beast, she probably wouldn't kill someone who is doing everything she can for her own mother, right? At that moment, the Marquis and Marchioness of Winsbury suddenly appeared. The Marchioness treated Bianca with exceptional warmth, but after exchanging a few pleasantries, she suddenly changed the subject, and every word carried a hint of insinuation. She was clearly making things difficult for Maria, though it wasn't hard to understand. Though Maria was nominally an adopted daughter, in reality, she was her husband's illegitimate daughter. This is too outrageous. Even the Marquis, he himself may have nothing to say, but since he personally brought her back, isn't this going a bit too far? The Marchioness earnestly took Bianca's hand, and somehow, the topic inexplicably shifted to her own son, Raintad. A trace of indescribable awkwardness passed through Bianca's heart. Why bring up Raintad all of a sudden? But on the surface, she still maintained a proper smile and smoothly handled the situation. Don't waste your time here. Why not come inside and have a cup of tea with me? Although the Marchioness was speaking to Bianca, her gaze, however, was pinned on Maria like needles. Thank you for the invitation, but Miss Maria and I are having a wonderful conversation. Those words instantly froze the smile on the Marchioness's face. I see. It seems she's quite good at chatting. The Marquis, who had remained silent the whole time, finally spoke, his tone brooking no argument. I'll stay here and enjoy the sun for a while before going back. Those words made the Marchioness's expression sink at once. Fine. Then stay here and have a nice, warm chat with your beloved daughter before you come back. Bianca clicked her tongue inwardly. The atmosphere was even more tense than she had imagined. If it was already like this in front of outsiders, how hard must her days in the mansion usually be? Thinking that, Bianca couldn't help but find her a little pitiful. And in the conversation with the Marquis that followed, Bianca vaguely felt that the relationship between father and daughter seemed fairly good. The Marquis mentioned that Maria would soon be making her formal debut in society, and that he was worried about it. Bianca's heart stirred slightly. Perhaps this was something she could help with. The debutante ball is an important occasion for noble girls entering high society. It is also a key opportunity for them to find a suitable marriage partner. Usually, this kind of preparation is assisted by the girl's mother. But judging from Maria's situation, that was obviously unrealistic. And judging from the Marchioness's attitude, even if it were really left to her to arrange, she would probably only make a complete mess of it. But for Bianca, this was an opportunity. If Maria doesn't mind, I'll help prepare for the debutante ball. As the debutante ball drew near, Maria began to worry about choosing a male partner. Her brother frankly admitted that even if she really had someone suitable, or someone she loved, their father would still look down on the other party's status, and in noble society, it would most likely still end in regret. The ending of her parents was the best warning example of all. But if she was lucky enough Perhaps she could still marry the one she loved, so he told her not to be too sad. Someone she likes? She instinctively thought of that person's figure. At the time, she had heard from the guard that he was the young duke, so maybe he would also attend this ball. If she was lucky enough to dance with him once, perhaps he would see her in a new light because of it. And if she could also win his favor, how wonderful would that be? Just like her mother once did. Could she herself also hold onto a little hope? What on earth was she thinking about? But on second thought, it was fine, wasn't it? After all, imagination was free. Full of excitement, Maria picked out an elaborate and exaggerated gown and was very satisfied with it. But Bianca couldn't help frowning and bluntly criticizing it on the spot. She urged her to quickly change into the dress she had personally chosen. And inwardly, she grumbled about Raintad, who clearly knew nothing about dresses, but had insisted on coming along anyway. Bianca let out a soft sigh. Going out for a walk wasn't so bad after all. It was better than staying at home and overthinking things. The Winkheiser family had already proposed beginning preparations for the wedding. Recently, she had even received a letter from him asking about the wedding date. While she was still lost in thought, Raintad suddenly showed a somewhat shy expression. He thanked her and also apologized for not being able to greet her promptly when he had visited last time. That appearance of his instead made Bianca feel rather burdened. Maria slowly walked out. In her new outfit, her figure looked especially light and graceful. The girl's liveliness and charm were also highlighted just right. Even Bianca couldn't help praising her. This outfit is truly perfect. She thought to herself that with this, Maria could go straight to the debutante ball. That ball would definitely be very perfect as well. Now the only thing left was choosing a male partner. The only suitable person she could think of was him. If she wanted to survive, she had to bring the two of them together. Although she knew this more clearly than anyone, why then did she still feel? Those dust-covered memories also quietly surfaced at this moment. Crown Prince Asi looked at the visitor, raised his brows, and let out a light laugh. For Lady Bianca Kloppot to honor me with her presence, and it's actually to urge me to process documents. I finally get to see you for once, and I was full of anticipation. How heartbreaking. What do you mean urge? I was only asking your highness to handle it as soon as possible. Your temperament really hasn't changed at all. You actually dare try to order around the crown prince, and even want to move the orphanage you've been funding into a new building. No wonder rumors spread saying, Bianca, the very symbol of luxurious indulgence, has gone mad. Bianca clicked her tongue inwardly. It can't be helped. I heard the procedures for relocating the orphanage are particularly complicated, and this charity ball is also being held for that very reason. I had already made an arrangement with the head of the orphanage. The more I look, the more I feel that the current you is very different from the Bianca I knew. But no matter which version of you it is, both are quite good. Bianca frowned. What kind of image do I have in your eyes exactly? Are you teasing me again? Asi slowly rose and walked toward her step by step. How could this count as teasing? I can agree to your request, but I have one condition. Look at me with the same eyes you use when you look at Ricardo. Bianca turned her face away somewhat uneasily. Your highness is of such noble status, so why toward me? But didn't you choose Ricardo? That focused gaze made Bianca's heart tremble slightly. If this was a joke, then the expression on his face was far too serious. She had never expected that. Even now, he still minded the fact that back then she chose Ricardo instead of him. Even though he had such a handsome face, he was a bit petty. Seeing Bianca remain silent for so long, Asi took a step back. Then just call me Asi. Bianca looked at his urgent expression that practically said, come on, say it. She had just opened her mouth, but then she met those earnest and focused eyes of his. And for a moment, she froze. Subconsciously, she called out softly, Asi. Asi responded, and a faint smile rose in his eyes. I will grant your wish. I permit you to call me that. It's like I've given you a magic spell. As long as you call me Asi, no matter what it is, I will make it happen for you. Bianca stared blankly at the person before her, and suddenly her heart shook. Wasn't this exactly a way to completely change the future? Life was originally made from countless choices piled together. If I don't just change my own behavior, but also make completely different choices, then what kind of ending will it become in the end? Before the banquet began, Maria learned who her male partner would be. It was actually that young duke who had made her heart race the moment they first met. That made her already nervous heartbeat become even more uncontrollable. And when she truly saw him in person, what made her heart tremble even more was this. Ricardo still remembered her. The surging excitement in her heart made her unable to stop thinking that perhaps this was what people called fate. Just like in novels, perhaps she too could become the heroine of a story, meet a kind fairy godmother, and live a happy life. Filled with gratitude, she held Bianca's hand, the delight in her eyes almost spilling over. But Ricardo's gaze, from beginning to end, burned fixedly on Bianca. That dress suits you very well. This sudden compliment made both ladies freeze at the same time. Coming back to her senses, Maria awkwardly echoed, why yes. A subtle and stagnant atmosphere was spreading through the air, but a knock at the door suddenly broke the silence. Crown Prince Asi pushed the door open and entered. I came to pick you up, just as promised. Ricardo's expression changed instantly, and he grabbed Bianca's wrist. What does this mean? What else could it mean? Naturally, I'm here to be this lady's partner for tonight. In the banquet hall, The sound of the symphony echoed without end. Everyone's gazes fell vaguely upon Assi and Bianca. What did you mean by the promise you mentioned just now? The corner of Assi's lips curved into a teasing smile. It was nothing more than a whim. That said, did you see Ricardo's expression just now? What a surprise. I haven't seen that in a long time. A guy as stiff as a block of wood actually showed that kind of expression. How satisfying. Bianca let out a helpless sigh. Because of you, it's going to be troublesome to explain this afterward. Explain? There's no need for that at all. The fact that your escort tonight isn't Ricardo has already spread. Since that position was left vacant, someone was bound to fill it, and looking across the whole room, who could be more suitable than me? The Crown Prince? Still, what happened this time was indeed unexpected. Ricardo actually went to be the escort of that miss from the Winsbury Marquis family who appeared out of nowhere as if by magic. Assi handed over a document. No matter what reason lies behind this, don't look so down. Here, this is a gift for you. I hope it cheers you up a little. Assi looked at her profile and said in a low voice, the more I look, the more regrettable it feels. What? The Crown Prince's gaze was startlingly intent. I'm serious. I truly want to be your escort. It is my honor to accompany Miss Kloppot, and such an opportunity is once in a lifetime. I wonder whether I might have the honor of sharing a dance with you today. Bianca had only just responded when a loud formal announcement rang through the banquet hall. Miss Maria of the Winsbury Marquis family has arrived together with Ricardo of the Winkaiser ducal family. The two of them appearing together instantly ignited discussion throughout the hall, and an uproar rose everywhere. But Bianca only stared blankly at the two figures standing side by side in the distance. A wave of bitterness slowly welled up in her heart. It was finally beginning after all. Could she really do it and not care about him at all? Maria took Ricardo's arm, making her first formal appearance. Who would have thought that the moment she stepped forward, her foot slipped? She was just about to fall awkwardly in public. Ricardo immediately wrapped an arm around her waist and steadily caught her. Maria's cheeks instantly flushed crimson, and she looked up at him dazedly to thank him. Their actions caused an uproar throughout the hall, and the murmuring continued one after another. What's going on? She couldn't have done that on purpose, could she? They look very well matched. The Crown Prince beside her suddenly spoke. There was a trace of teasing on his face. Perhaps I shouldn't say that. I don't mind at all. Bianca's tone was light, but inwardly, she mocked herself for being shaken by words like that. She was practically a fool. The music for the dance happened to begin at that moment. The Crown Prince invited Bianca to dance. Looking at the person beside him who was clearly absent-minded, he spoke softly. What's wrong? Are you all right? Since just now, you haven't been able to focus on dancing at all. Do you know how fast my heart is beating right now just thinking that the aid might suddenly appear? Dancing with you makes my heart race even more. It feels like your highness is really good at making girls fall for you. Oh, you mean your heart just fluttered? I'm not saying your highness made my heart flutter, but what benefit would that even bring? There are quite a few benefits. For example, making you the crown princess. Looking at Bianca's eyes widening abruptly, he couldn't help but laugh softly. Did I scare you? Bianca pouted. Well, who told you to suddenly make a joke like that? She stared blankly at Assi, thinking that he always looked carefree and untroubled. If she became the crown princess, would she become like him too? Would she then be able to live at ease? Without worrying that someone would take her place? Without worrying that someone would poison her? Bianca! Assi interrupted her thoughts, his voice low and serious. Everything I said just now was sincere. If the position of Duchess is still not enough to satisfy you, come to me anytime. I will keep waiting for you. Bianca's gaze darkened at once. She looked past Assi's shoulder toward the pair dancing in each other's arms, not far away. But she happened to meet Ricardo's eyes instead, and that gaze was sharp and complicated. It made Bianca shrink back involuntarily. What? Why was he looking at her like an unfaithful wife? She hurriedly looked away, using the excuse that she needed to touch up her makeup, and quickly left the dance floor. Ricardo also let go of Maria at his side, and immediately went after her. In the powder room, Bianca's heart was in complete turmoil. Although she had pretended to be unaffected in front of Assi, she really had no way to keep dancing while watching those two. Those scenes always made her uncontrollably think of that time in the past. She had clearly made up her mind long ago, yet her resolve was still shaken so easily. The sound of steady footsteps approached her. Bianca suddenly turned her head. The person who came was actually Ricardo. I have something to say to you. He kept his anger restrained in his tone. Why did you insist on making me Maria's escort? Originally, I was going to let it go for your sake, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt I had to ask clearly. I already told you before, I simply felt her situation was awkward and wanted to help her, and you were the most suitable person. That's all. Besides, I heard many people in the hall praising how well matched you and Maria are. Isn't that a good thing? Ricardo clenched his teeth tightly, suppressing the anger that was almost about to break through his reason. So you were with Assi the whole time just now. Anger also tinged Bianca's brow. I'm the host of the ball, and there are many things to do. I hadn't arranged an escort for myself at all. His Highness merely saw that the atmosphere was off and casually made a joke. But Ricardo did not believe it at all. If I had known it would turn out like this, I would never have agreed to you. Pushing your own fiancé to the side of a completely unrelated woman, then turning around and getting close to another man yourself. What is that supposed to mean? That sentence completely ignited Bianca's anger. Don't make it sound as if I really cheated. During this period of time, she had already endured again and again. And now this man was actually getting angry with her? But why are you doing this? I have already made my feelings very clear. I said it before, I like you. The person who makes my heart move is you. I want to marry you, but you do not love me. Maybe you do have some affection for me, but do you love me? Can you kneel here right now and swear on your life that in this lifetime you will love only me? Ricardo was speechless for a moment. I truly do not understand why you suddenly became like this. Swearing on one's life has never been a trivial matter, so you can't do it after all. Bianca's voice was slightly hoarse, carrying a trace of disappointment so faint it was almost imperceptible as she walked past him, but her wrist was suddenly seized. Ricardo forcefully pulled her into his arms, firmly locking an arm around her waist, turning and gripping her hand tightly, refusing to let go. I even think you are the most special person. And most importantly, more than anyone else, I want to be close to you. Isn't that love? At this point, stop doing this. We are not in love. She laughed bitterly inwardly. If she truly loved Ricardo, then she would not care what sort of ending was written in that book, and she would stay by his side no matter what. Even if she had to face death, she would never shrink back in the slightest. But she could not do that because she felt her own life was more important. That was why she had chosen to give him up without hesitation. Back in the banquet hall, Bianca keenly sensed that the atmosphere was somewhat stiff, so she called over a maid and asked about it. Then, with one glance at Maria, who had been isolated, she immediately understood. She stepped over. Seeing this, that group of noble young ladies immediately gathered around. Bianca politely greeted everyone and asked indifferently, "What happened here? We were just chatting. There's an illegitimate daughter born to some shameless country person, and she actually dares to flirt with and deliberately curry favor with a man who already belongs to someone else. If she had even a little shame, she wouldn't keep pretending not to know and still dare to pull this sort of trick in front of Lord Wingkaiser's fiancé." Hearing this, Bianca froze instantly. This Miss Kate Conway's countess loved most to lead a group of noble ladies around everywhere. Put nicely, she was well informed, but plainly speaking, she was just someone who loved stirring up gossip. If she were not at least somewhat useful, why would Bianca have maintained superficial politeness with her? Yet she had actually caused this kind of trouble. Once Maria learned that she and Ricardo were already engaged, then everything Bianca had done before would all have been for nothing. It was I who personally asked Ricardo to be Maria's escort. It was my personal request. Has my recent anxiety made you all think that Ricardo and I are on bad terms? I absolutely never thought that. Or do you think Ricardo Wingkaiser is the kind of heartless man who would be dazzled senseless by beauty? Everyone was choked by those words and immediately turned pale with fright. None of them dared say more and quickly bowed and withdrew. In the blink of an eye, everyone had dispersed completely. Only then did Bianca slowly lift her eyes and look to the side. "If Miss Maria does not mind, let us have a talk. I'm breaking down. I'm really about to break down." She had already been willing to hand over her fiancé. She had even almost won over her romantic rival. But this damned book, why did it still insist on pinning her to the death ending? A few hours earlier, Bianca had still been annoyed that her plan had been disrupted. Talk with Maria alone. But before she had figured out how to begin, she heard Maria's clear voice. "My sincere congratulations on your engagement. Though it is a little late, I still want to congratulate you on your engagement to Lord Wingkaiser." Bianca froze for a moment. "I did not mean to hide it from you. You seem to really want Wingkaiser to be your escort. And I also wanted to make the one and only debutante ball of your life a little more grand. So later I missed the chance to tell you the truth. And I worried that telling you at that moment that he was my fiancé would make you uncomfortable and instead ruin this ball." Maria immediately grasped her hand. Her eyes were full of joy. "I'm truly very happy. This is the best debutante ball I have ever attended." Bianca's eyes were full of disbelief. "Don't you blame me? If it weren't for me, you and Ricardo." Before she could finish, Maria hurriedly interrupted her. "Oh heavens, please don't say that. The two of you are obviously so well matched. Ricardo truly is the most perfect and handsome man I have ever seen in my life. He is an excellent knight who is eager to help others and asks for nothing in return. But how could I blame you? On the contrary, after learning that I cared a lot about your fiancé, you must have felt terrible, but you did not show it in the slightest, and you even wanted to leave me with beautiful memories. That only made me like you even more. I hope that in the future as well." Maria's words were interrupted by movement behind them. Ricardo walked in with a grave expression, his gaze falling straight on Bianca. "Is there anything else you need me to do?" Bianca calmly looked away. "No. Thank you for agreeing to this difficult request today. Then is there anything else you want to say to me?"
No.
Bianca still did not dare look into his eyes. "All right, then I'll take my leave first." After saying that, he turned and left. Maria looked at the two of them in panic. "It seems Ricardo has misunderstood. I hope the two of you can have a proper talk later." "A misunderstanding?" "Yes, all along. They had misunderstood, mistakenly believing that they loved each other. But in fact, They were not in love, and now it was time to make that misunderstanding clear. Ricardo had barely left when Maria's brother came over. Only then did Bianca realize how late it already was. The banquet should be coming to an end as well, so she immediately prepared to leave. "Thank you so much for today.
See you next time."
Maria's face was full of sincerity. How could anyone possibly bring themselves to hate someone so kind? Late at night, Bianca picked up a book and flipped through it, but the contents of the book had not changed at all. She muttered to herself that it had clearly glowed just now. Unexpectedly, in the very next second, a sharp sound of shattering rang out abruptly as a glass fell to the ground and broke. Maria's eyes were filled with hatred. "You selfish and ugly devil." Bianca covered the blood continuously pouring from her fingertips and spoke with difficulty. This is a misunderstanding, your mother." But before she could finish, Bianca's time came to an abrupt end. Bianca snapped the book shut. All that remained in her heart was speechlessness and frustration. She had died again. What on earth was going on? Why had it suddenly involved her mother again? In the original plot, Maria killed her in order to win Ricardo, but now, the contents of the book had changed to her killing Maria's mother. So Maria killed her to avenge her mother. This was too absurd. It was simply impossible. She could never kill anyone. It was obvious that someone had killed Maria's mother and then pinned the blame on her. But why exactly would kind and gentle Maria believe it so firmly? Was it because she was too innocent? She never understood how sinister people could be, and as long as someone showed her a little kindness, she would trust them easily. Although she herself had also taken advantage of that point to win her favor. But no matter what, as long as she could make sure Maria would not misunderstand, that was enough. Starting today, she would absolutely not set foot within 3 blocks of the hospital where Maria's mother was staying. But things always went against one's wishes. The more she wanted to avoid something, the more likely she was to run into it. In the blink of an eye, she still ran into it. That was how fate toyed with people. No matter how many times she rewrote the plot, the ending of death still followed her like a shadow. What was meant to happen would still happen. Bianca could only force herself to act natural, and most importantly, she absolutely could not let another misunderstanding happen. She was just about to take the initiative to introduce herself first and break the awkward chance encounter. But Maria's mother had already walked up with a smile, warmly greeting her and repeatedly thanking her. She said that thanks to Bianca's help, they had been able to move into this prestigious hospital for treatment. During their small talk, Maria learned that the charity event had always been organized by Bianca's parents. And this time, because both of her parents had been summoned to the palace, it was her first time taking charge and personally participating in the event. So Maria smiled and invited her to walk around together. Bianca originally wanted to refuse, but then she changed her mind. In a situation like this, she actually could not separate from Maria. If anything unexpected happened, any lapse in hospital management would definitely be blamed on her family. Besides, in order to ensure Maria's mother's safety, she should take this opportunity to familiarize herself with the surrounding environment. "Sure, I'll go with you too. As the organizer, I also want to hear everyone's feedback on the event." But after walking around for only a short while, Bianca was already shocked by Maria's appetite. She could not help but wonder whether this girl had not been getting enough to eat at the Winsberry household. As they spent time together, Bianca also gradually figured out a few things. Her mother's condition had improved quite a bit, but she still got tired easily if she walked for too long. Maria usually did not have much time to accompany her mother, so the older woman often went out by herself as well. As she spoke, she pointed to the chapel beside the hospital. She said that she often went there for walks and also rested inside. Bianca could not help worrying. "If you go alone, wouldn't it be better to have someone with you? There are a lot of people on the road, so I can always ask someone for help. Besides, the nuns over there have always taken good care of me." The director of St. Lemenica Hospital came running over quickly, panting heavily. Seeing him so flustered, Bianca immediately thought that something had gone wrong with the event. The director hurriedly explained, No, I just saw you looking around the stalls, so I came over to ask whether anything was the matter." Bianca felt somewhat puzzled. What matter could she possibly have? But she still responded, "I've taken a general look around and haven't found any problems." As she spoke, she quietly glanced at Maria behind her out of the corner of her eye, secretly wondering whether she too had concealed her noble identity in order to come visit her mother. But unexpectedly, she was met with the warm sight of the 3 of them leaning close together. Her heart suddenly tightened. Using the excuse of inspecting work, she said goodbye and hurried away. The more Bianca thought about it, the more unwilling she felt. What was so great about that stupid book anyway? In that book, Maggie Bologna was nothing more than a nameless extra without even a single line. She was just a side character who had never even been mentioned in any previous ending. But how could a living, breathing person possibly be nothing more than a side character? The hospital had to stay on the highest alert. Absolutely nothing could be allowed to go wrong. More soldiers also had to be sent as guards to keep watch. As long as Maggie stayed alive, Maria would have no reason to kill her. She would never let Maggie die. But as soon as Maggie returned to her residence, a person of unknown identity appeared and said something vaguely about some matter. Who exactly was this person? In the palace, Bianca's parents were summoned by the queen. The queen's gaze was as sharp as a blade. "I'll give you one more chance. A chance for Bianca to enter the royal family." Those words left the couple stunned on the spot. Bianca's engagement to the crown prince had already been called off 10 years ago. "It's just that I recently heard some rumors." At the charity ball recently held by Clawpot, Ricardo Winkheiser became another young lady's escort, and Bianca did not seem to mind at all. Now rumors are spreading outside that the two of them are about to separate. Bianca's father hurriedly explained, "Your Majesty the Queen, that is not the case. Not long ago, the Duke of Winkheiser's family was still discussing the marriage between the two of them with us."
Who can really say for certain about such things?
The thoughts of young people are the hardest to guess. Although this request is being made in the name of the royal family, I hope you will not feel that I am forcing you. If she refuses, I will let the matter end there. But as her parents, you should also think it over carefully once more. I will leave the honorable position of crown princess open for her. For the first time in a long while, Bianca had afternoon tea with her parents. Amid the drifting aroma of tea, she stole a rare moment of relaxation. In the past, she had always liked reading while drinking tea, but ever since reading that book, she had become gloomy and dispirited. She had not touched any other books since then either. Last night, in order to confirm whether the plot had changed, she had even read until dawn. At this rate, she might collapse from exhaustion before the ending in the book even arrived. And of all things, the queen brought up her engagement to the crown prince again. The next day, she went to see the crown prince. The moment she stepped through the door, he spoke first. "I know you came because of Mother." "Yes, I came to refuse this marriage." The crown prince nodded lightly, signaling for her to sit down. "I should apologize to you first. This matter should have been proposed directly to the person involved, but Mother's message this time was practically the same as a notice. I was startled when I heard it. Father and Mother must have been quite shocked as well." The crown prince laughed aloud. "That's true. After all, our marriage arrangement already fell through 10 years ago. I'm sorry." At that moment, before Bianca could finish, he interrupted her. "Why are you apologizing? Just because you rejected me? Could it be because of what I said back then?" The tips of Bianca's ears grew warm.
"Don't say it, assy."
"How cruel. Clearly, as long as you call my name, I'd be willing to agree to anything, and yet you're very good at taking advantage of that." "Of course. After all, I know very well how to deal with people's hearts." "That really does sound like you. But I heard that all across high society recently, people have been saying that Miss Clawpot and young Duke Winkheiser seem to have grown somewhat distant. But I could already tell from the last ball, when I stole you away. So, what exactly is going on? Have you two really grown apart?" She averted her gaze. "There is no conflict between us, and no dissatisfaction. Our relationship is still the same as before." The crown prince feigned surprise. "Is that so? That won't do. You've been engaged for 10 years. And yet you're still the same as before." Bianca guiltily fiddled with a lock of hair. Wasn't long-lasting calmness also something rare in its own way? "Do you know, even though you were already engaged, I still never wanted to let go. I silently watched the two of you for 10 years. The relationship between you was so flat that, even if one looked with eyes wide open and searched carefully, one still could not find even the slightest bit of the depth and passion lovers ought to have. I have never been someone who places too much hope in hopeless things. But when it came to you alone, I always thought that perhaps one day, an opportunity would come to me. Before long, it will be the Holy War Memorial Day. Mother would like to ask you to serve as the appointer at the knighthood appointment ceremony that day." Bianca was utterly shocked. "What did you say? Isn't that something only members of the royal family can do? So what if I give you this so-called royal authority? Besides, you are already the fiancé of the commander of the knights. But the public will never accept it. They will only see it as a declaration that I have been chosen in advance as the crown princess. Do you think that is all? The rumors that you and Ricardo are on bad terms will only intensify, and all kinds of gossip will spread everywhere." "That suits me perfectly." His gaze was focused and sincere. "I want to steal you away from Ricardo." Bianca froze for a moment, unable to speak, but a thought flashed through her heart. This might be a perfect opportunity. No matter what, that book pointing toward her death was telling the story of a villainess obsessed with Ricardo. But if she could completely break out of that framework, perhaps all the curses would be lifted along with it. Maybe then she could escape death. Seeing her lost in thought, the crown prince called softly, "What are you thinking about?" She did not answer and simply continued along the lines of what had just been said. "This will definitely create friction with the Winkheiser family." "Oh my, this really makes me happy. You're actually considering it seriously." "It's not a problem. We can hold their family accountable for allowing Ricardo to neglect you, his fiancé. Of course, Ricardo is also my friend, and I do not want to completely fall out with him either, so how about this? Mother originally wanted to spread the news that you had already been chosen as the future crown princess. I will stop her by saying that the timing is still too early. At the appointment ceremony, it will be announced directly that you are attending as the fiancé of the commander of the knights. Would that be acceptable? Then wouldn't the queen's request become completely meaningless? After all, I've already waited for you for 10 years. Waiting a little longer won't matter. So, are you willing to agree to my request?" Bianca's throat felt dry. She had once imagined this kind of love too. fierce and all-consuming like fire. But Assi, I'm sorry, her heart still remained where it had always been. Bianca looked at those invitation cards. One after another, every single one of them invited her and Ricardo to attend together. She could not help wondering, did she not even qualify to be invited on her own? Then again, they had been engaged since so early on, and in the blink of an eye, it had lasted until now. Ever since he had left the ball alone in silence, he had never contacted her again. They had never gone this long without contacting each other. In the past, she would definitely have thought, he is the commander of the knights, so he must be busy preparing for Holy War Memorial Day. But now, was he planning to break off the engagement? Even if she were to receive a letter of annulment now, she would not be surprised. So why was there still an indescribable soreness in her chest? Just as she was feeling upset and distracted, she unexpectedly found an invitation to Count Conwee's daughter's tea party. At the last ball, she had sternly rebuked the girl, so it had always been on her mind. This was a good chance to ease the relationship a little. After all, making an enemy of her would bring no benefit. After arranging everything, Bianca rang the bell and called Pania over. She told her to make preparations because she was going to visit the orphanage. As she stood up, she caught sight of the book on the table. She could not help recalling that, after accepting Assi's proposal that day, she had gone to look through that book. But the contents of the book had not changed at all. Could it be that it was only a proposal and had not truly happened yet, so the contents of the book had not changed? Still, it would not take long to confirm. In the orphanage reception room, the director looked at the document in his hands in disbelief, so excited that he thanked her again and again. But Bianca felt that she had only casually changed the ball into a charity event. It was just a small effort. What truly satisfied her was that this was the first time the director had handled such a large sum of money. Yet he had not wavered in the slightest. He was someone very worthy of trust. Previously, the matter of hiring teachers that she had instructed had also been taken care of. Now teachers came every week to give lessons, and the children had already learned to write their own names. Some of the older ones could even skillfully write the names of their little companions. This was a scene the director had never even dared to imagine before. Her gratitude toward Bianca sank even more deeply into her heart. There came a knock at the door. The person who arrived was actually Ricardo, with whom she had not been in contact for quite a long time. Since they had run into each other, Bianca took the opportunity to suggest that the two of them have a talk. But these words made Ricardo grow angrier and guiltier the more he listened. As a result, he not only learned that his fiancée was going to serve as the appointer at the knighthood appointment ceremony, he also heard that the queen was planning to use the opportunity to match her with Assi. His gaze instantly sharpened. Before you agreed to become the appointer, did you know what that meant? Before, you were still so adamant about breaking off the engagement with me. Bianca frowned unhappily. How many times do I have to say it? Breaking off the engagement has nothing to do with Assi. This time too, it is only because rumors are spreading outside that you and I are on bad terms, while Assi's future crown princess has not yet been decided, that the queen wanted to take this opportunity to make an attempt. Ricardo looked utterly incredulous. How could she believe such absurd rumors and then do something like this because of him? If the atmosphere between them, tense as drawn swords, did not count as being on bad terms, then what did? Lala came running over, bouncing with excitement. She eagerly showed off the name she had written. Ricardo stared blankly at Lala for a long while. Then he suddenly picked her up. He plopped himself down beside Bianca.
Come.
Let our Lala show off to the princess. Bianca was dumbfounded. She turned her head and glared at him reproachfully. What are you doing? Didn't you say people outside are spreading rumors that we're not getting along? I'm going to get rid of that rumor. The innocent Lala had absolutely no idea that she had already become a tool. She lifted her sweet little face and asked, "What is the princess's name?" While pinching Ricardo and trying to make him move farther away, Bianca answered gently. As soon as Lala heard it, she immediately frowned her little brows. If the princess were called Bibi, it would be much easier. In an instant, that one sentence nearly melted Bianca's heart with how adorable it was. Ricardo looked at her bright smile, and the corners of his mouth unconsciously lifted as well. Since the appointment ceremony had already been decided, there was nothing to be done about it. For the banquet ball after the ceremony, let me be your escort. I don't like all those rumors flying around everywhere. Your escort
Can only be me.
in the past or now, it has always been so. What kind of battlefield of love was this? Her fiancé had actually appeared together with her romantic rival. She was so shocked that even her most basic expression management completely fell apart. Before this, she had still been helping Maria prepare the dress she would wear for Holy War Memorial Day. That was an extremely important day for the Empire. 5 years ago, after the Empire defeated its neighboring country and completely secured its power, the Emperor specially established this Memorial Day to pray for lasting peace. On the one hand, to reward those with merit, and on the other, to hold celebrations throughout the whole country. As a family of meritorious service, the Winsberry family naturally had to enter the palace to pay their respects. Maria, of course, also had to attend. The two of them tried on a full N sets of dresses. At last, they settled on the dress Maria would wear to attend. Maria looked completely puzzled. Aren't you choosing one for yourself? Bianca casually pointed to one and decided on it. She also picked out a dress to wear to the Conway's family's tea party. Maria was stunned on the spot. She asked in confusion, Miss Count Conway's is? She's the one who spoke rudely to you at the last ball. After saying that, Bianca naturally began explaining to her the rules of survival among nobles. In noble circles, although open and secret struggles never cease, people do not unconditionally trust those in the same faction either. Nor do they blindly treat people from other factions as enemies, because in high society, reputation and public image are very important. And although Miss Count Conway seems like the sort who is obsessed with gossip and spreads news everywhere, she actually understands very clearly that doing so increases her own value. And it is precisely because of this that she has been able to establish herself firmly in the upper noble circles where you and I belong. Maria listened with a confused look on her face. Is my status even higher than hers? Because you have already been formally adopted. In the future, it would be best to at least maintain surface-level cordiality with her. After all, you will inevitably keep running into each other. Even if you dislike someone inwardly, in public you must not let others seize any handle against you. Even if your enemy is standing right in front of you, your bearing must still be proper enough. That is the secret to not putting yourself in a passive position, and even being able to counterattack. Not long afterward, the two returned to their respective homes. Maria lay tiredly in her spacious room. Her gaze fell on the beautifully packaged box of cookies on the table. She remembered what the etiquette teacher had once said. Miss Bianca's family is a family famous for its noble and elegant style. They value practical interests and never do meaningless things. But she did not agree, because she had seen that gentleness with her own eyes and heard it with her own ears. She hoped that after the sweets melted in her mouth, her troubles would also flow away with the tea. Those warm words of hers made her, who had been rejected ever since childhood, taste for the first time what it felt like to be cherished by a friend. So she had to work hard to become someone worthy of her. The next day, Bianca went to the Conway's family's tea party. Listening to all their flattering words, talking about those dull and tasteless topics, made her feel tired almost as soon as it began. By chance, she caught sight of a young viscount's daughter. She could not help thinking of Lala. When she grew up and put on a little formal dress, she would definitely be beautiful too. But even without dressing up, she would certainly still grow up beautifully. And even if she were not beautiful, that would be fine too. Lala was smart and full of energy. In the future, she could become whatever kind of person she wanted, and Bianca would fully support her. She was so absorbed in her thoughts that she did not hear a single word of what others were saying. After casually brushing them off with a few perfunctory responses, she left that boring gathering and headed straight for the place that could heal her. But the moment she stepped through the door, Bianca froze stiff. The children were playing around with Maria, and the scene was warm and lively. Even Ricardo, who was usually so steady, was among them, with a rare brilliant smile on his face. Her heart suddenly sank. Why was Maria here? The first person to notice her was Lala. In her clear little voice, she called out Princess, then immediately let go of Maria. She joyfully ran toward her and threw herself into her arms. Bianca asked stiffly, "Why is Maria here?" Maria was both shy and happy as she said that she had heard the farewell ball was a charity ball being held for this orphanage, so she had wanted to come and see it. Just as Bianca was feeling extremely awkward, Lala warmly invited her to come play with them too. Maria also urged her along. She forced a smile. "And no, thanks. I'll leave after delivering the gifts." "Gifts? What gifts?" Lala lifted her little face and asked happily. "Desserts. Go wash your hands first, and then we can eat together." After Maria led Lala away, Ricardo walked over. "Are you all right? Your complexion doesn't look very good." Bianca forced herself to stay calm. "Aren't you busy at a time like this?" But Ricardo answered with something else entirely. "Your reply to the request I made last time?" Because Lala was too excited, "You didn't get to make it clear, so I still haven't heard it until now." Bianca let out a light sigh. "You told me not to choose Assi as my escort, but to be honest, I can't guarantee that. If the royal family asks, I have no reason to refuse. On that day, I can only..." Before she could finish, Ricardo angrily cut her off. "No, why would you? Don't fight." A childish scolding instantly made both of them freeze. Lala popped out with a fierce little baby expression. "You're not allowed to fight. If you keep fighting, I'm going to scold you." As she spoke, she grabbed one of each of them by the hand. "Hurry up and make up." She forcibly pressed their hands together, and Bianca was so embarrassed that her face grew hot on the spot. "You also have to hug. The director said you have to hold each other tightly, and then say sorry. Promise not to fight anymore. That's what counts as making up." Bianca was speechless for a moment. In the very next second, Ricardo pulled her into his arms. He held her tightly, his voice low. "I'm really happy to have gotten to know a brand new you, but at the same time, I'm also very uneasy, because it feels as though you could fly away at any moment. How I wish I could hold you like this forever. I will work hard to become someone more worthy of you, so don't mention other men anymore."